From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here on a Tuesday. If you had a long weekend, I hope you enjoyed it. If you worked yesterday, fair enough, but you're joining us today as the working week gets underway. And it is cold out there, so don't go out. Just stay in-house and join in the conversation this morning. We're going to be talking about, well, I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go. There's a lot of things we can touch bases on this morning with our guest who runs a city of its own within the city of Metro. What would that be? What's the city? Well, I guess you could maybe think Vanderbilt. Could it be the dean over at Vanderbilt? Yeah, that's a possibility. No. What other cities within a city do we have here in Metro? I know, the jail. The sheriff. He's elected. He's kind of like the mayor of the Davidson County Jail, Darren Hall. Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Am I
Nick.
right? I mean, Vandy, within our community here, how many other cities within a city, if you will? Because you basically manage, you have several tenants.
You're right.
You're not a slumlord.
Well, right.
I would think. I mean, there are limits on what they can do. Like, there's rules behind bars.
Right.
Like most community associations,
Right.
They have to abide by, but you have standards you follow.
Right.
Anything crazy going on at the jail these days? What, for instance, and I've been over there, we've talked about how the jail needs to be redone. In the summertime, you complain about how it gets very, very hot or the air conditioning goes crazy. I'm wondering, when it gets this cold, what's it like over there? How is the heating system at the jail?
It's very tough to maintain climate, really. I mean, the reality of the building, it's concrete, it's metal.
I know, but are you
so
talking cells that are freezing, or you might go into one cell for whatever reason, the heat's just cranked and it's really hot?
It's always been, as you can imagine, exterior walls and so forth are different. But yeah, we have provide extra blankets, things like that. It's just a tough.
Really?
It's harder when it shifts temperature. I mean, it's hard because you can't turn something that fast. If it stays cold over a period of time, we do a little better at getting getting it regulated. But and usually, in the old days, we were so overcrowded, the body heat was bigger, better. But now today, we have a lot of vacancies. We have a lot of parts of the buildings we can close down, and so that helps us some. But they're just not designed with a lot of that in mind. It's just not really a building that's built without tremendous amount of insulation. So you're really dealing with concrete, is what it is. So.
No, that's what not a lot of insulation. I've been down below there where you see the ceiling bowing. That's
needs to go.
When is work going to start on that? Have the bids gone out now? And we always ask you about this each time, and I know you've been in touch with our new mayor. When does work begin, and when do you think the first time will be that you'll have to move some inmates to another location to get the work going?
I really hope that's in the next 6 months.
Okay, 6 months.
With the government work, I would push that to maybe 10 months, but my hope is by July or sometime we're closing the building down. There's a construction company obviously going to be awarded. I think that happened last week, to be honest with you. So now that that's in place, hopefully over the next several weeks we'll get a plan from them as to when they can start demo and that type of thing, and we have a plan to work out. We're trying to the mayor's office, obviously being new and so forth, kind of how they see these types of projects going, and we're working our way through some growing pains of learning with new people. How does it really work right in the middle of a very, very large project? But so it very well may be that we're leaning on them, on her staff as to when and how they want us to do it, versus maybe in the old days of the different ways where it was more on the sheriff's office to kind of work through those things. So we're trying to figure that out, get the contractor on board, and ultimately get the building closed.
Yeah. And again, the timetable, once that work starts, what are we talking, 2.5 years?
Probably 3 years of total build. So
if
you dream a little bit, that's 2019, maybe 20. Wow.
And it's going to be a lot of change because moving folks around, it'll be every step of the way. It'll be interesting to see.
It's complicated. People don't think about it. We book everybody in that facility. We have to close all
How
that
many
down.
inmates again?
40,000 a year. We'll have that book. We probably have 3,600 in any given day when all of our facilities scattered. So, but yeah, you're going to have a lot of different functions of courts, the rest in the booking process, and of course, just the sheer nature and the dangerous element that we're dealing with. It's a tough thing to plan for. So. It won't be the same. For the next 36 months we'll be doing that, and then you'll be planning for 6 months or roughly to move it all back and then get a new facility up and running. So next 4 or 5 years will be a real challenge.
All right. Well, listen, a lot to talk about. We can get more into that. The number 737-7587 if you want to jump in. Some phone lines already filling up. Questions, if you will, for the sheriff. And we'll get to those in just a moment. Just wanted to hit you up. I mean, we were talking before the show just about a broad range of topics, but I really didn't get a take from you. Is there anything you really want to hit on this morning that's, since we've last seen you? I'm just curious that you think is important.
I would like to spend some time, if we can, talking about the mentally ill and the issue. We had the man out on the sign that blocked traffic and so forth. I'd like to talk, if we can, about the plans in the future and kind of as the new building comes online, some thoughts for
if you would on that one, by the way. I think that's an excellent point. Many of you will remember it was last week or a couple weeks ago where we had an individual who was suffering from, I don't know, whatever. He was a little out of his head and he was up over the interstate on the sign, and the Metro PD negotiator did a great job talking him down. He was taken into custody. Remember, he asked just not to be cuffed, and they treated him with respect when he came off. Did he end up coming to the jail? And then I'm just curious. Once you have an individual like that coming over, how did you guys handle it? You knew about it. He's brought in. Can you walk me through what steps he took, or you took him through once he arrived?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I mean, you know, we need the community to understand how the process works, and I'd like to talk a little bit about maybe where we can go from here. But yeah, he is literally the poster child for how it works, and it's not the best way to do it, to be honest.
Okay.
Here's a man who, quite frankly, was in traffic, doesn't have an extensive history, mental health or criminal history, and started suffering from anxiety in traffic. Believe it or not, got out of his vehicle. My understanding, walked over, climbs up on the sign, was trying to get away from, and everything was closing in on him.
Yeah.
Tragic as it sounds, and as bad as that is, it's very common. There's anxiety and other issues that are going on with people. But what we do in this country is we call the police. Now, that's not the way it used to be, by the way, but in this case, obviously get traffic involved.
If I had seen him, I would have called 911.
Right, and we don't really have an alternative.
Who else would I call?
Right, we don't have an alternative.
Yeah.
And plus, in this case, let me be fair. He was blocking traffic, and there are other reasons why I think the police need to be involved. But let's go one step further. He's on the sign. They're blocking traffic for 4 hours, and people are blowing the horns, and there's all kinds of issues going on. And negotiate and get him down and come down off the sign. He's put in a police car. He's driven to jail. That's the only alternative there is. There's no other place to go. He's brought to the jail. He is evaluated by our mental health staff upon entrance and the medical staff. We take him to General Hospital. He's evaluated both physically and in a quick mental health assessment. It was determined to send him to Middle Tennessee Mental Health for an involuntary committal, which basically means we need to make sure, because we didn't know the guy, to be honest.
I'm curious, by the way, did you actually see him yourself, or were you even around for this?
No,
okay, which typically you would not be. I just wondered if maybe you had.
Very interested in this case, though, because of what it really is to us.
So he comes by, and someone there decides, okay, let's send him over to get him evaluated. Mental Health,
which is out in Donaldson. And so he goes out there. I believe he was there 3 or 4 days. In the meantime, all the criminal case stuff kind of goes on hold. You got charges pending and so forth. So you get him evaluated, medicated and so forth, calm down. Then you ship him back to the jail. And keep in mind, Nick, he was suffering from anxiety.
Well, sorry, he's getting worse now.
So
this isn't helping things, but of course, he committed a crime. So
so we got him back now. We've got him medicated. He's at the Middle Tennessee Mental Health. He's back here in the jail now, and now we got to send him through the criminal justice system. So now he's going through the courts and this and that. They sentenced him to 20 days. I believe that worked its way down to 5 or 6 days left because he'd had a couple days in the hospital, was credited. So anyway, so he's got 5 or 6 days. I think he was released Friday or Saturday night.
Okay.
So that's how it worked. Okay, now let me try to back up a little bit. We deal with 7 of him a day. Okay?
A kid.
They're misdemeanor charges.
Maybe not as high profile because they're not blocking the interstate, but similar
These are
type
very
situations.
low-level charges. He was charged with blocking a right-of-way and disorderly conduct. Okay, those are misdemeanor offenses, and he is mentally ill. The only reason he committed any sort of offense was because of his mental illness or what he was going through, suffering. So I'm not saying you ignore the behavior he's caused, but what we do wrong is we sweep him into the criminal justice system and put him into a system that's not at all designed to deal with mental illness. It's designed to deal with behavior and the criminal justice element of going to court and you understanding what sanctions 20 days, 5 days would be. A person who is suffering from mental illness has no idea what in the world you're trying to do with them, and surely is not going to be deterred by whatever sentence you're going to put on them if really what's going on in their mind has nothing to do with that. So what we do is we have 7 of him a day, 50 of him a week, a month. We have 3,000 of him a year. These are misdemeanors. Now, misdemeanor charges who are mentally ill, who in the 60s and 70s, you never would have brought them to jail. They'd go to the hospital.
Okay.
You would take them directly to a hospital. It is cheaper to do it that way. It is more effective from a mental health perspective, and it does not burden the criminal justice system with cases and people and money that really it's not designed to handle. The court system is treating you as if though you are able to understand the difference between right and wrong, when quite frankly you don't know the difference between driving your car and climbing up on the sign. And sentencing you to 20 days in jail. We're doing this right now, but the cost to do it this way, Nick, is 3 to 4 times what it costs to house a regular person. If we take that money and move it into a different arena, not criminal justice, and say let's treat what it is. It's not behavior. It's not intent, it's not malice, it's...
someone who's out of their head. Now, is there a facility in place right now with the right resources that could be set up to take in these...
No. And that's what we need.
I mean, it used to be, would it have been General Hospital in the old days or something like that?
You had Middle Tennessee Mental Health, which is in Donaldson, but when I grew up here, Central State Hospital was located where the Dell property is.
Okay.
And that was a mental health hospital. And that's what we used to do, is we treated mental illness. Now, don't get me wrong, there were issues then too. There was stigma, there's a stigma associated with going to mental health.
Yeah.
But what we do now is we give it to the average person out there sees the person being taken away in a police car and thinks that was solved, that the person was a criminal and we got the criminal off the sign and we solved it. It is not at all a criminal. It's not. The reason he did that was not because he was a criminal. It was because he's suffering from mental illness. The illness in this case has to do with anxiety. That's not my. That's
so
the
he's got no
diagnosis.
treatment when you're holding him for those 20 days behind bars. Zilch. I mean, he's sitting in a cell.
And we've got nurses
You have
that
no
can go
means
by
to
and
do
see
that.
him. Yeah,
aside from nurses treating him medically, but are they able to go in there and provide the counseling, maybe work him through whatever issues he needs, or determine whether he needs
it's a
some
very
type of
low level, very limited
medicine?
amount. And what is it? It's concrete and bars. There are people in those jail cells that are. There's no way you're treating the illness at all.
And then, of course, the big side of that is once they get out, because there is no treatment, the odds are you're going to see them again.
They can come right back. But let me. We need to go to break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Yeah.
And I know you wanted to hit more on that. Let's do that. And we've got calls for you. If you want to comment about that whole issue of the mental illness, I mean, the bottom line, folks, is you're paying for it one way or the other. I'd like, and I think what the sheriff's pointing at here is there's a more cost-effective way to do it that not only is more effective in dealing with these individuals, but saving you money.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. It's just a question of making that transition. So we'll take a break, get into more of that. And if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your phone calls right after this.